Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Talking Cardboard. As always, I'm your host Brian. To my right we have John. To my immediate left we have Corey, and the far left we have Kaylor. This episode we're talking about Lowlands, which is a semi-cooperative, semi-working against the people around your game. For a more detailed introduction, we've got a short video on that.
Okay, here we are everybody to discuss Lowlands. At the core of this game, you've got 3 farmers, number 2 to 4, to do various actions on your player board. Each player gets their own player board that looks just like this, their own little farmland area to build up fences, to house your sheep. Sheep are worth points at the end of the game. The semi-cooperative nature of this game is the fact that you are building toward your own little structures on your board, including buildings, which we'll get into later, and other various things to score points at the end of the game. The cooperative nature of the game is that there are actions that you can take to build up the dike to fend off the impeding water, the ocean water, from coming in onto land and destroying and killing off both your sheep and other players' sheep. So let's get to the first action of the game. Build a structure. To do that, you would take the required resources from your hand to build a structure, which is depicted up in the top right corner, and this will actually go onto your player board for the rest of the game, giving in-game special bonuses and end-game conditions for victory points. For example, this building has a 4 rank worker on it, so I actually would not be able to use this 3 rank worker. I'd have to use a number 4 here in order to build that building. That is the first action of the game. The next action of the game you can take is the building a dike action. So, for example, if I wanted to take my number 2 farmer here and place it on the build toward the dike action, I could use 2 actions toward that option. So, in order to build a dike, you have to use 2 of the same resources, or in this case 2 of the same resources, but you have to use the same resources to build toward the dike. So I have 2 brick here that I could discard, go up 2 on the dike track, and then you would take a look at this board here. Because I contributed brick to it, I would go up 2 brick on the track, and now this means that the only resource we can contribute toward building the dike is now brick, until the brick reaches the end of the track. Once it does that, we get to take a new dike piece and build it here to fend off the impeding water. The next option we have is building toward your fence. If I wanted to use this rank 4 farmer here, and I could put that on that spot to build toward the fence, that means I have 4 actions towards the build a fence option. How I can break that up is I can either build additional fence pieces off of my player board here, or I can move fences, or existing fences around. So with the 4 actions here, I could, let's say, shift 2 of the fences around, and then with my other 2 actions out of the 4, I could take 2 similar resources, 2 of the same resources, discard them, and build 2 more fence pieces here. And now I have a larger area fenced in for additional sheep to go in those spots. The 4th action you can take is buy or sell sheep. So if I were to go here with my 3 farmer, I could buy up to 3 sheep or sell up to 3 sheep. I want to keep my existing sheep here, so what I could do is we could look over here at the cost of sheep. They're currently at 3. I could spend, let's say I wanted to buy 2 sheep, I could spend $6 here to buy 2 additional sheep and put them in my fenced in area. With my 3rd action, because I've only bought 2 sheep out of the 3 actions, I could simply take a card and add it to my hand. And the final action of the game is simply to take more cards. I have one of my additional worker tokens here, so that actually adds to that 2, adds 1 to it, so it's now a value 3. I can take face-up cards and then face-down cards and add them to my hand. So I have 3 total actions. I could take 1 card face up and the remaining 2 from the deck, add it to my hand, and that's simply the final action you can take. So there you have it. That's a quick rundown of Lowlands. Obviously not all the rules or variations to the game, but that's a quick overview. You're working cooperatively to fend off the water from coming in. As I'm showing here, we've just turned over a 4, so 4 more water pieces would come out here and start impeding on our farms. as you are working cooperatively to build the dike to fend off the water and working on your own player area to get more sheep for more points at the end of the game. And at its base, that's simply how you have it. Now let's get back to the table for our thoughts.
You can try to, like the first game I played, I tried to solely focus on building the dike up and hoping that in the end everyone would have all these tokens that were going to hurt them points-wise if the dike did fail, but I'd be ahead on the track, so I would not be penalized for that. And that's kind of what I went for the first game. And then the second game, I kind of switched my strategy and fell behind on helping towards the dike. And I don't know if I did better or worse, really. It kind of was sitting in the middle. So either strategy seems very valid. Just overall, there's not many strategies I feel that you can pursue. Like, you basically have to do probably everything somewhat equally to do well in this game. You can't just go down one path and do really well, because if you just do, building the dike, you're going to end up helping everyone else as well, because if the dike doesn't fail at the end, all those tokens they built up for being behind you that would take off points just go away. So
it does seem like that if you're going gung-ho for a certain strategy, it could be completely useless at the end. Yep. It's not like it got thwarted, but it just becomes useless. So, Corey, it sounds like we've got a lot of, not really dissension, but differing perspectives on the complexity of this game. Can you go into more detail about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess one of my neutral points to the game, just right off the bat here, the complexity is definitely higher than the strategy allows for, in my opinion. I believe it's not a whole lot of paths to victory. You are watching what other players are doing, but for how, I guess the depth of the game really surprised me, and the complexity of the game surprised me for what little options you really do have during your turn.
And as the person in our group that usually has to teach us how to play, how would you rate the teachability? It's
not the most difficult game to teach, but some of the concepts behind what you're doing may be a little bit hard, on the harder end to teach. So using all the same resources for a particular action to build a fence, or having to use the same resources to build a dike, doesn't really have as much of a thematic weight to it, so it's a little bit harder to teach or to allow others to grasp their head around if you're teaching it to them for the first time. So I guess that kind of plays into the thematic part of it, which we'll get into later as well, but it makes it a little bit more difficult to teach, given those little nuances here or there that might not completely make sense with what you're doing.
So it does seem like it is a little bit harder to teach the depth of it. John, what do you think about the depth overall, or the weight of this game?
I mean, I think it's, mid to high depth or weight. There's a lot going on, at least seemingly. I mean, realistically, you have only 5 actions to take a turn, and one of them, like the buying and selling sheep, I'm not really sure, like having gold and buying or selling sheep, I don't know how much that actually helps you in this game necessarily. So I don't know if there's a valid strategy we're just missing with that, or I don't know. None of us have really, except for Tori. You're the only one that's ever tried to make gold work for you. So
yeah, and I guess going off of that too, it seems like it has potential to be a really deep game, but we've just scratched the surface of it, and I don't think it's necessarily in a good way. Like, we're having a difficult time finding true strategies that work or unique paths to go down. It's mostly just haphazard. What can I do this turn to put a bandage over this bullet wound type of thing. So that's, even as somebody who's successful at the game, it's frustrating because I barely know what I'm doing. So there's weight to it, but not depth of understanding. And
we play a lot of games. So having said that makes it even more valid, I think.
Yeah,
I definitely agree.
So the player in our group that most relies on luck is Kaler. So what do you think about the luck versus skill?
I didn't think there was really, I gave it a high rating, but it was more on the skill side of things. I didn't think there was really any luck into this game. The only luck you really get is the cards the resource cards that will come out for you at the time, or what cards or lands you can buy. Other than that, there really is no luck. But the skill, because of how many facets there is going on at one time, can really make a big difference in how you play this game.
Yeah, I would agree. And the skill isn't even playing off of each other, like you're competing against other people. It's more of just trying to keep your little plot of land in some semblance of order. that there's not a lot that we are competing against each other, but not a lot that we're even cooperatively working together towards either. So Corey, since it is your game, it's your library, what do you think about it?
Well, some of the pros, I do like that there's only 3 farmers in the game, essentially, that you're manipulating throughout the game. It kind of minimizes the decision making a little bit with how complex or how much is going on in the game. Yeah, I believe if there's more farmers than that, it would be just a little bit too complex with the decision making.
Just a quick rebuttal to your thought that the 3 farmers was kind of a good thing. I personally thought it was kind of a con for this game. I always felt like I was, one action away from, either getting more cards that I needed to turn in and, help build the dike, or trying to build a building to help further my farm. Just 3 actions a turn when you only get, you get 4 action phases the whole game. So that's 12 actions total, and you're trying to balance all these things they have going on. And I just didn't feel like that was enough, but...
So yeah, kind of going off of that, you saying only 3 farmers, limited amount of actions, I think it would have been nice to have a couple maybe optional free actions at the end of your turn. Just real quick, easy actions that, take 2 cards here, do this there. Maybe a couple simple actions for free would have been something nice to add.
I think something like that would help immensely, because you're always, it's always like 2 cards short, or just,
something.
It's just something.
Well, in some of the other resource management games we've played, you can keep going until you choose to be done with managing your resources. So there's some other games where the other 3 players could have passed, and you can do 3 or 4 more things if you have the opportunity to. But in this one, it was very finite, very short, very compact. But there's definitely easy ways that they could fix this and make it much more freeing.
Right. Not a whole lot of breaking the mold. It was put your guy down and do the actions. If you have more actions than what's necessary or needed, you can take some more cards, but why not throw a couple more options in there? I think that would help it out a lot.
I agree.
Choosing when to help out with the dike building and when not to is, I believe, adds a really unique twist to the decision making in this game. So I just wanted to add that. That was one of my pros. There's not a whole lot of semi-cooperative games out there, so when you do get one to the table, it does add kind of that unique flavor that you don't normally get with most games.
Yeah, I agree, and I notice sometimes even when we're trying to be cooperative, some people are throwing a wrench into it and may not be able to help each other so much, or just going to be jerks and not offer to help build the dike when they have the opportunity to.
Yeah, who are you looking at?
At this point, I look at everybody else, but I still win, so we're good.
You either want to try to work together and get ahead on the board, or if you don't care for it as much, fall behind and get the subsequent consequences at the end. I thought that was a real fun aspect for this game.
So, John, what would be your overall rating for this game?
If I was going to rate this, it'd kind of be somewhere in the middle, 5 or 6. Not a horrible game, but nothing, crazy good either, so.
Okay, anybody else want to offer other insight into their overall rating?
I gave it a 5 also.
I'm at a 6.5. I'm a little bit higher than these guys. And I think that's just for the reason that there could be a little bit more to the game than what we've scratched the surface on so far. I mean, we have played it a decent number of times to grasp the idea. We do play a lot of games. We catch on to games real quickly. I think we can pretty much understand this game for the most part. But the 6.5 is definitely an okay rating. I wouldn't mind playing it some more to try to dive into it to see if there's anything else to it. But at the same time, I could live without it too.
Yeah, I agree. And thinking about the price point, because that's always a concern, at least for me, that I try to be very cost conscious. I think it was about $70 that we saw.
Yeah,
if you're looking at it on Amazon or eBay, then maybe you could find a bit of a discount. I personally think that is not a very good price point for this game. I think it is, at least what we've experienced, it's not quite worth this very high cost.
The wooden bits are nice.
Minus
the pieces are nice.
Minus the deformed one.
Minus the deformed one.
Deformed farmer.
Yeah, but that farmer hasn't lost yet.
That is true.
Maybe that's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking at all of our reviews and opinions on this, I'm probably the lowest. I don't think this is a game that you need to go out and buy. If somebody else has it, sure, you can try to play it, but my personal rating would be maybe like a 4 out of 10. And it's a game that I win quite frequently, so you know that it must be every time. So you know it must mean something.
Small
that
sample size.
It doesn't really scratch that itch that I'm looking for, that working against each other or working with each other, the game's not really sure what it wants to be.
I can see that.
You can definitely try it or suggest somebody else buy it, and then you can play it a few times and see for yourselves.
No, I completely agree. I mean, on the excitement rating, I'm at kind of a meh, just kind of in between. If somebody else has it, give it a shot. I know it'll be compared to other farm building games out there, but even at that, you're not really doing a whole lot other than building fences and breeding sheep for that part, or for that matter. So not a really whole lot to the game. I think it was a tight miss. I think that if they had like a good expansion or maybe a second edition that adjusted the rules around to make it a little bit more compelling to go after the dike or not to go after the dike. Or
definitely be hoping for an expansion. We've seen many games that they look like there's not much to them, and then an expansion comes out and the game's totally different. So let's hope for that this time.
Or reworking expansion or second edition.
Yeah. Either way, we're hoping it'll improve this game. That being said, we're probably going to play it anyways, but it's not the first one we're going to pull off the shelf. But until next time, we'll catch you later here on Talking Cardboard. I screw up all the time on purpose.
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're the best.
I'm trying to start.
I don't know what to do for an introduction. Hi guys. Can't do that when you introduce something.